The Samsung A15 and A16 are two smartphones destined to be bestsellers. In this video, I'll show you the main differences between the two. Samsung has sold more than 17 million A15s in the first half of 2024, and there's no reason why the A16 won't achieve the same results in 2025, since, as you will see, it's a good budget phone. Let's look at the 5 main aspects where we see differences. First one, the screen. Both phones have great screens, there's no doubt about that. When it comes to similarities, the A15 and A16 share the same AMOLED display which delivers vibrant images and good color accuracy. It's a pleasure to look at, and it's comfortable for your eyes when you compare it to the old PLS LCD found on older models. The resolution is also similar. Both devices come with the same Full HD Plus resolution, which is great. When it comes to brightness, they both achieve an 800 nit peak brightness, so you won't have issues while you're outside in the sun. Finally, there's a 90Hz refresh rate for smooth moving images, which we find on both devices. So basically, the two phones have the same good display, and honestly, there are no visible changes when you look at photos and videos. When it comes to differences, there are only two. The A16 comes with a bigger 6.7-inch display, the A15 only has 6.5 inches. That's the first difference, but here's the second. Despite having a larger display, the A16 also has significantly smaller bezels. We get an 84.3 screen-to-body ratio on the A15, while on the A16 it goes up to 86%, which is nice. Moving on to the second aspect, the design. The larger screen on the A16 also means that it's a larger phone. The longer length and width mean that the A16 will occupy more space in your pocket, which is something I don't like. What I do like is that the A16 is thinner than the A15. You'll immediately feel it more comfortable in the hand, but overall, personally, I do prefer the A15 because it occupies less space. If we look at the back, we see the same triple camera setup on both phones, but the A16 looks more premium since it has a matte finish. The glossy back on the A15 shows way more fingerprints, which can be annoying. Also, A16's frame looks better. Even though it's made out of plastic, it looks like metal. The A15 looks a bit like a toy when you look at its frame. Let's look at the third aspect, protection against dust and water. The A16 has an IP54 rating against dust and water splashes. It's not weatherproof though. It will stop working if you drop it in the swimming pool, but at least it has some protection. The A15 doesn't have any of that. Even if some websites say it also comes with an IP54 rating, I believe it doesn't. Look here at their SIM trays. On the A16, we see a sealing rubber that prevents dust and liquid from coming in, while on A15 SIM tray, there's no rubber. Another indicator is the button sound. The A15 is much louder, as you can hear. This is another hint that the rubberized layer of protection is missing underneath the buttons of the A15. The fourth aspect, the number of Android updates. The newer model receives 6 years of Android updates, while the A15 gets only 4. Both get a lot of support. 4 years is a lot, but 6 years is simply amazing. I never thought we would get a budget phone that receives so many updates. Both devices come with the recent Android 14 One UI 6.1, which is great, but that higher number of OS updates is definitely a major benefit of the A16. The fifth aspect, the headphone port. As you can see here, the A15 has one so you can plug in headphones directly. That's great. A lot of people still prefer that since it's very convenient. But nowadays, there's a tendency to exclude it, as we can see now on the A16 and A35. Yes, unfortunately, the A16 doesn't have a headphone port, so you can either buy Bluetooth headphones or get an adapter. The A15 might very well be the last entry-level smartphone from Samsung that has the headphone port. Hardware performance could be the sixth aspect where we see differences, but the A16 is roughly 50% better than the A15, so there isn't any notable difference here. Also, the cameras are practically the same, as are the storage and even the battery. In conclusion, these are the 5 main differences between the two phones. The A16 screen is bigger but with smaller bezels, A16's overall size is bigger, the A16 has an IP54 rating against dust and water splashes while the A15 doesn't have it. The A15 gets 4 OS updates while the A16 gets 6, and finally, the headphone port is featured on the A15 but absent on the A16. Both are good budget phones, but I hope my video clarified for you how they differ. I made separate reviews about the A15 and the A16. You now see them on the screen, so you can press the one you'd want to watch. If you enjoyed this video, press that like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.